Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Decoding the Noise, Finding Alpha in Volatile Energy Markets. I'm Marie, I head up content for Commodities People, and I'm honored to be moderating this very timely webinar on behalf of our friends at AlphaSense. If there's one thing we know, it's that volatility is our daily baseline. Between geopolitical friction, supply shocks, and the transition, trading desks are being absolutely bombarded with data. But let's be honest, more data doesn't mean better intelligence. It usually just means more noise. So the real edge goes to the teams who can cut through that noise and grab the actionable signals before the market moves. And that is exactly what we are diving into today. We're going to map out a new front office playbook looking at how to close critical data gaps, track transition trends, and use advanced tools to turn messy, unstructured data into a real-time trading advantage before it even hits the curves. And to do just that, I'm joined here by a group of experts combining a lot of experience in energy trading markets. First, we have Partha Chatterjee. Partha is a director in the energy division at MRE Consulting. He brings 35 years of experience in digital innovation, specializing in how trading desks can use data, AI, and risk management systems to navigate the energy transition. Next, we have Darren Young. Darren is the head of energy and industrials at AlphaSense. He's based in Singapore and he's a digital transformation strategist who helps companies use AI-driven market intelligence to navigate complex APAC supply chains and macro global shifts. And last but not least, we have Amelia Dudley. Amelia is an account director at AlphaSense. She has spent over 7 years as a strategic advisor in the energy and industrial sector, helping enterprises leverage advanced market intelligence to track macro trends and make faster business decisions. Welcome to you all, and thanks for being a part of this session. We're together for about an hour. We have quite a few questions for our panelists, which will take around 45 minutes. The sessions will conclude with some Q&A with you, the viewers. So if you'd like to ask a question to the panelists, please enter your question in the Q&A box. We will get to as many questions as possible in the time that we have. All right, so let's get started. We'll actually kick off with a question for the audience. So the question is, what type of unstructured data takes your team the most time to manually filter and analyze? So you have a list of choices. Is it regulatory updates and policy shifts, global corporate filings, and earnings transcript, broken notes, daily markets commentary, or infrastructure project updates and delay trackers. So we'll give the audience a few minutes to vote while I ask the first question to the panel. And that one goes to Partha and Amelia. Our session strapline notes that volatility is no longer a phase, it's the operational baseline. When you look across European power, LNG, and environmental commodities right now, what is currently the single biggest source of noise that trading desks are struggling with? Partha, do you want to share your thoughts on that?
Thank you, Marie, and thanks, AlphaSense, for setting up this interesting and informative, I hope, webinar. As you rightly said, we are bombarded with data. The challenge is to make data intelligence, extract intelligence, actionable intelligence from that data. Now, what sorts of data do we have in our market? We have huge troves of blogs, opinion pieces, filings, forecasts, even social media posts, which are opinions, which are personal takes on things, to knowledgeable information, actionable information, actual intelligence. Now, tagging them, making them intelligence, and not just unstructured data is a big ask. for me, separating what we call just an opinion, just something which is a very personal take on things, from really thoughtful, actionable intelligence is the biggest challenge we are facing with, and that's what clouds up our data stream, and that's what makes our job difficult.
Indeed. Amelia?
Absolutely. Thank you for having us on today. Really excited for the discussion. I absolutely echo what Partha mentioned. I think one of the big things that stands out to me with the customers that I work with is how do you become more proactive in the way that you are dealing with the information overload and the insights? So absolutely everything that Partha mentioned, but also in a very competitive market now, how are you getting kind of ahead of those signals and finding the signals that no one else can?
Absolutely. Let's put up our first polls results, if we could. So there is a clear winner, and that is regulatory updates and policy shifts, 58%. It's quite high. Followed by broker notes and daily markets commentary, 33%. And then the other two are quite low, let's say. Any comments on that? Did you expect that?
Honestly, I thought the opinions and other things, other blog posts and stuff would cloud the market. One thing which this poll shows is that our audience is doing a pretty good job of honing in to the important information which matters. So good thumbs up to our audience. Those are the type of things they should be focusing on.
Okay, good. Excellent. Thanks, Partha. So corporate strategy teams are making massive and long-term capital decisions regarding the green transition. So from your perspective, where are the biggest intelligence gaps today? Is it a lack of available data, or is it a visibility issue regarding the total cost of ownership of that data? I'm staying with you, Partha, on that one.
Yes, as we talk about long-term capital decisions and the green transition, the first challenge is long-term, because green transition has not been there for long term. So data, machine learning, data science works great when you have a significant runway of data and you can make those decisions based on going through different situations. So the biggest challenge we have is the information around capital costs, future demand, supply, trends, long-term trends, because this is comparatively a new phenomenon. That's one thing which is impacting is trusted long-term history of data around demand, supply, and prices. That's one. Second thing, which is a kind of interesting, especially in the green transition and battery asset space, is a relationship between when excess power you can store in the battery and trade at a higher premium during the higher load. How, what is that cost of battery versus the extra profit you can get by selling power at a higher premium during the higher load. All those history needs to be worked out. Those are a couple of areas which are making our corporate decisions difficult.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about, transition tensions, specifically the friction between ongoing fossil fuel dependencies and rapid renewable capacity additions. So how can analysts effectively map these diverging trends when the actual public narrative often conflicts with what's actually happening on the ground?
Yeah, and this is, I have a smile. This is one of the challenges we are seeing with all the latest generations. They want to enjoy power, but power is a bad word, or energy is a bad word in some cases. So it is critical to actually predict the demand supply prices so that we can make informed decisions and renewable energy can be obtained at a decent price. And then it can be balanced with legacy production. The challenge for energy companies is to work out through their trend analysis, predictive analytics, that this is how much they're willing to pay at a particular location at a particular time, and then balance that the renewable energy mix with the legacy production. Key is to base these decisions not just on emotions, but on data. Analyzing the trends gives you the advantage. So the takeaway here is ignore the noise, focus on how best you can meet the customer demand, and then find the right mix for the right price to deliver that supply for that demand.
Yeah. As we said earlier, more information doesn't mean better intelligence. And I have a question for Darren on that. So at what point does a mountain of data stop being a competitive advantage and start becoming an actual, operational liability for a busy front office? I'm sure you've seen that at your clients.
Thank you. Yes, it's the metrics our clients will use is speed to decision and speed to a verifiable and board level decision. And as many trading teams, global strategy teams start ingesting a lot of their subscriptions, what they're noticing is that it's not that information is objectively good or bad, because if it's objectively bad, it won't be part of your feed, but it's when is it useful right now? And passing through, reading through PDFs means that there's trading teams are making decisions with a lag, and that means lost alpha. So increasingly, again, AI is almost like it's not a why AI in 2026, it's how AI, in order to ensure that decision-grade information is available for traders and also strategy teams to make the right decisions. Because like the team mentioned in the first poll, regulatory shifts are top of mind. How do we keep track of them? And with the current US administration, a lot of those shifts happen over the weekend, especially.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's time for our second poll to the audience now. So which area of the energy transition presents the highest information latency, so delayed or unreliable data for your strategy team? So there are a few suggestions there. If none of them are what you want to put in, you can always put your answer in the chat so that we can see it. But yeah, it's tracking real world renewables capacity additions versus targets, gauging actual fossil fuel supply and demand dependencies, navigating, shifting regulatory things like EU ETS or CBAM, etc., or modeling regional power grid and interconnection queues. So we'll let the audience vote, and let me turn back to Partha and Amelia for our next question. So, in fast-moving energy markets, a policy shift or an infrastructure delay can really impact the curves instantly. So, how severe is the information latency problem right now for teams relying on traditional manual tracking methods? Partha, do you want to start off?
Yes. This is a very relevant question in these modern times as we get more and more into the, I call it AI arms race, right? Getting the information, the correct information, as quickly as possible is the first prerequisite of getting ahead in this energy market. So especially in the realm of real-time power trading, renewables, latency can be a big problem. So we must, when you are a power trading or renewables trading shop, you must have the right infrastructure, because you must find out what is the data source which is giving you this information quickly. Reliable information. It's not just about getting the information quickly, but getting the right information, number one. And then once you get that information, how quickly can you process? So build out the proper infrastructure. For example, now the really advanced trading shops have AI models, machine learning models, data science algorithms which are running, and they need proper infrastructure, redundancy, so that if something fails, you have the infrastructure to fall back on and ensure that the critical infrastructure can handle real-time and supercritical demand. This is important because often when we are building out infrastructure, we think, oh, we have a data lake. And I'm going into a little bit into the technical infrastructure. We have a data lake, but the data lake may be sitting in Europe, and you are trying to trade this information in US. What's the better way? What sort of information should ultimately flow into the data lake? But when we are doing real-time data sharing, it needs to come quickly into your infrastructure so that you can make those decisions faster and closer to when you got the information. So this building out, so getting the data sources and building out your infrastructure are critical in this day and age. Thank you.
Amelia, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with Partha. I think he covered off most of the points I was going to mention. I think the one thing that is very kind of prevalent now, that it's not just about getting access to the information, it's how you're able to digest it. And that's what gives you that competitive edge versus just kind of getting the data and storing it somewhere. And that's really where we see a lot of customers moving towards what different kind of AI tools or ways they can start to incorporate that information in that will then give them that competitive edge to deal with latency issues.
Yeah, let's now see the results of the voting, if we can. All right. Okay, so that's not a cut and clear vote. So we were looking at areas of the energy transition that we find, well, where we have the highest information latency. So yeah, top answer is modeling regional power grid and interconnection queues, followed by the regulatory shifting. Sorry, yes, equally with tracking real-world renewable capacity additions versus targets. I mean, what does that say to you? That is, everything is pretty much around the same percentage. There's no clear winner. So I guess people are struggling with a lot of different data sources. Partha, Amelia, Darren, any comments on that? Did you expect
I
that
was
split?
I was going to say that that's not a surprise, actually, that answer, because the energy transition or information on the energy transition I hear all the time is very tricky to be able to find and rely on. And particularly as a lot of it doesn't come in a format that's easy to compare against one another. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Anything else, Darren? Yeah, I see Darren. You
Agree.
wanted to
Even
comment.
when there are projects announced, either in press releases, like the regulatory changes can quickly stall, delay, or even accelerate projects as well. And because of that, it is not easy to get answers just from a single source. It's very often about piecing multiple sources together, because what was true last week may not even be true this week.
Yeah.
True. And this is not a surprise because what this says to me is that different people are struggling with various factors, and we have multiple areas we need to focus on when building out our decision tree, right? Multiple different data streams. Thanks.
Yeah, indeed. Sorry, let me turn to Darren Partha now. When looking for early indicators of market shifts, where should analysts be looking, in your opinion? Should the priority be digging through global corporate filings or tapping into unredacted expert network insights? How do you balance the two? Partha, Darren, sorry, do you want to start off?
Yes. A lot of our clients are finding that again, it's about layering both to get context structurally. So what it means by that is the global company filings will give you the audited financial flaw. So it's got to be true. It's audited. And the expert perspectives, so like project operators will give you the operational ceiling. So when you think about how they're combining together, the what you see in the filings are what an organization claims. And when you talk to an expert, it's really understand why and how it's happening on the ground. And when you bring both together, we make better decisions. Over to you, Partha.
Agree with you, Darren. But the couple of additional points. You need to balance both, just like Darren said. But what I also you need to do is to extract intelligence first time and build out some sort of a model, tags, hints, so that next time aha, when I get this type of corporate filing, I need to look for this type of information, and on these different information tags, these are the 2 or 3 critical ones, and then this is the next level. Similarly with the expert network, these are the experts for these areas, and which are really good, and this type of decision points are helpful for what I am trying to do, whether trading or building out assets. So compiling the information, learning, and then setting up the right, what I call hints for future, are critical to move forward.
Thanks, Partha. I can see already some questions coming in the Q&A box, so just keep them coming. As I said, we'll get to them in a moment. Thank you very much. Sorry. Now let's have our third and final audience poll, please. That one is, how would you rate your front office current capability to synthesize unstructured data using AI or NLP? So are you advanced, developing, exploratory, or none? Entirely, you're completely using manual processes to do that. So yeah, let's see what answers we get here. Let's see the level of maturity that we have among our audience.
Excited to see the
I'm
answers,
interested
but,
in seeing.
Yes, it's going to be
I'm very
interesting.
interested in seeing the poll.
Me too, me too. Let's see the results if we can. Because yeah, different companies are obviously approaching things differently, and they have different levels of engagement with it. Okay, so looks like the middle ones are the ones that people are more into. So it's, yeah, not a lot of people are confident they are very advanced, but people are engaging in it anyway. So yeah, developing and exploratory are the biggest answers. Well, I guess that was to be expected. And what do you think,
Yes.
Amelia? Oh, Partha or Darren?
No, Amelia.
Yeah, it's completely in line with kind of what I expected. We're hearing from a lot of customers that they're evaluating different kind of AI tools and solutions that are out there on the market at the moment, and having lots of different conversations. But there is so much out there. And again, even in the solutions that you could possibly evaluate, that's almost information overload in itself. And then having kind of 44% of people using kind of basic keyword alerts. I think that's coming from kind of the legacy solutions that have come through, and we'll probably see a shift, I imagine, in the next probably 6 months from 44%. That will probably move into exploratory phase, and the exploratory phase will become a bigger percentage, I imagine.
Yeah, but this is kind of what I expected. But I wanted to give a pat on the back on people who are on the lower side of the totem pole, right? Exploratory, and even none that you are thinking about this, right? Building out the data foundation is critical. Pulling in all this data and automating your data pipeline is critical. So if you're already doing that, even if you are not doing AI right now, you are building the foundation on which you can build your AI house. So that's one. And second, even look into automation you can do in reading emails. Many of us are bombarded with filings and market intelligence emails. So even setting up a very quick agent to read your emails, giving you a dashboard and giving you a synthesis will be a big step, and that is very easy to implement. So work with whoever your team works with. Even those couple of small things give you big value. So
Just to add on here,
good stuff.
again, those who are very mature will also naturally underreport because it's alpha. They want to keep it low key. You think of two public examples where some firms are doing this well. Saudi Aramco, they put $6 billion in digital investment. It's part of a national strategy as well to deploy AI. And if you think about Shell, they are known as a commercial and front office pioneer. So they fully in-house AI. Shell.ai is a core competency across the business. And that means, again, on their trading side, is they're widely recognized as one of the more forward-thinking majors. So naturally, anyone who's really ahead would underreport because it is genuine alpha. So for everyone in the audience, just think about, what am I doing today to immediately bring at least one workflow into practice?
Yeah, very, very good point. Staying with you, Darren and Amelia, moving past the buzzwords for a moment, trading desks are constantly, as we said, bombarded with unstructured data like broker notes, PDF filings, and regulatory updates. How can they practically ingest these messy formats and use NLP to, capture policy shifts or sentiment changes before they actually hit market prices?
That's a really great question. And actually, I'm going to share my screen just to kind of depict how that's in practice. And Darren, I'm not sure whether you wanted to add while I'm just pulling up my screen.
Yes. So I think almost everyone in the audience is using some form of AI. So if you think of like consumer grade AI that many of us are already using like ChatGPT, and you've got enterprise grade AI in most of our companies like Copilot, what you're seeing in Amelia's screen is investment grade AI. And what you're going to immediately notice is that, again, the data sources that traders and strategy teams depend on are not just web search. In fact, the internet search is turned off by default because the experts, the company filings, the regulatory updates that you mentioned are critical, are the first port of call for strategy and trading teams here. Over to you, Amelia.
Yeah, absolutely. As Darren mentioned, I think sometimes it's easier just to kind of visualize where that information is coming in to then kind of understand the output. You'll see here all of the kind of market and kind of expert information coming through here. And exactly as Darren said, the web search is switched off as a default because actually you're probably wanting to tap into the premium market insights to make your business decisions. And then you'll see a big piece in the middle here around your internal knowledge that you can feed into AlphaSense as well, which we're seeing really complement any output reports that are coming through, because typically you don't just want the outside market view, you need your internal company voice as well. I've just prepared for the conversation today a couple of examples of where I'm seeing customers using the platform for a front office use case to really find kind of alpha in the market and find opportunities and bring in lots of different content sources into one place, exactly as you mentioned, Marie. So I'm just going to type in a question here into our search box. Very broad. Appreciate we don't really understand who kind of what everyone's focusing on the call today, but just take this as you can really edit this and amend this to your focus area as well. But I'm just saying I'm a trading analyst in a major oil and gas company, find partnership opportunities for me to sell LNG in Europe. Very broad. I'm just going to ask the platform to help me out with a better prompt. And you'll see that it's just taken the content that we have within the platform, understanding what kind of information we could get out of that to give you a better output straight away. And then without actually needing to know where I'm looking for that information from that menu that we looked at with all the different types of content sources coming in, I can have the platform go and do that analysis for me. And you'll see here the research plan that's being put together by our platform using a flexible large language model. So this is not just one model, this is multiple models. We have a huge engineering team and R&D investment that goes and analyzes all the best in class large language models to provide this flexible output. And the reason why we do that is that different models are good for different things. So we take them, we train them across all of our premium business content. So our platform understands that content and use case. And then you'll start to see the output being created here. And actually, what a lot of customers say is that, we've asked one question, which is, find sales opportunities for me for LNG in Europe. But what we'll see here is the platform pulls out utilities and starts to dig into some of the companies in more detail, any other opportunities there, but then starts to pull out infrastructure operators and regional hubs, maybe areas that we haven't thought about before. And so without you needing to kind of know where to look or know how to structure your output, you're starting to get those ideas and signals of where things are starting to appear.
Yeah, that's really good. I think you had another example that you wanted to potentially share.
Yeah, so far we've looked very much at kind of sales opportunities and very much kind of company focused and counterparty focused. But actually, and I think Partha touched on this at the top of our call today, is the challenge around being able to forward look and understand, okay, what's happened now and how do we predict what's going to happen in the future? And there is a lot of information out there from amazing market research, brokers, experts that are all talking about this. But exactly as we've been saying today, how do you know who to trust? How do you aggregate that together into a way that's easy to read and you've not spent a whole week putting it together? And so I wanted to just share how you can use AlphaSense for more of a kind of market overview. But before I touch on that, you'll see here, even in the question that we've asked, which was very much counterparty focused, the platform is also giving like a market landscape overview. And what you'll notice in any of the answers is that everything is cited back to the source, because if you're using this to make a trade decision or to share with your leadership, you absolutely need to know where that information has come from before you share it. And you need to be able to read around that topic. And apologies, my screen is ultra small. But you'll see in here, the platform will take you straight to the place in the document where this information has been found, so you can trust and validate that information very quickly. And one thing before I actually move on to that market focused report is we talked a bit about being proactive around the information that you're tracking. Something like this, the market's going to change and the opportunities are going to open up differently. Also, you would have seen in that answer there that there was also information pulled out about who's partnering with who on LNG in Europe already. And that's an answer in itself, because then if you're a competitor, you might not want to spend your time there, or you might want to go up against them. And so if you did want to track this on a regular basis, what I'm seeing a lot of customers implement now is agentic AI. So the ability for the platform to be running that analysis while you're repurposing your time doing other things. And so I can create an agent for this prompt if I liked the output. I can schedule it to deliver to me once a week or daily, and that will deliver me a nice newsletter all cited into my inbox, so I can just read that as and when it comes in, versus having to come in, decide what prompt I want to run, need to know what question. And so a lot of the times when I work with my customers, we upfront, we think about what are the things that you need to know about the market regularly. Okay, let's set those up as agents on the side, and then you can leave that and concentrate on other things that are coming through that are going to be much more high value. So just quickly moving on to the market focused example here. So I'm just going to start a new thread. We have different modes of compute in AlphaSense. So that example that I used there was our fast compute. So giving you a quick, fast answer based on a kind of more basic question. But for something like a market outlook for LNG per region over the next 5 years, analyzing broker analysis, that's quite a big question. And we would probably want a bit of a deeper dive answer. And so what I can do is actually say to the platform, I'm happy to give you 10 more minutes of compute if you're going to give me a really detailed output here that I can analyze. And so again, I'm just going to use my enhance button to provide me with a detailed prompt that's going to give me a really nice output, analyzing all the different parts of the market. And you'll see already in the enhance, it understands that we're looking at the LNG market. It understands that kind of industry focus to be able to pull out the best prompt. Now, this is going to take 10 minutes. So I downloaded this earlier just to show you what the output would look like here. You can output this in a couple of different ways. The first way is through a PDF that the platform provides. So you'll see the prompt there, quite detailed. And then key takeaways, everything cited back to the original source. We can maybe share this after, Marie, if people are interested in receiving it. But you'll see a really detailed report here that you can take away and read, understand. Doesn't have to be a long report. In our prompt, we could have specified that we wanted it to be 1 page or 2 pages. And then the second kind of output that we can provide as well is a presentation deck. So AlphaSense can take that answer and push that into a presentation slide for a kind of ready to use output. So hopefully that just gives some examples of how you can start to take a lot of different information overload, and have the platform do the work for you in delivering that both kind of when you need it, but also proactively to be able to get a handle on what's going on in the market.
Thanks, Amelia. That was very helpful. Now, I mean, kind of addressing the elephant in the room, one of the biggest anxieties trading leaders have about bringing AI into the front office is data integrity. So hallucinations or inaccurate synthesis can be incredibly costly. So how do modern intelligence platforms ensure absolute accuracy when tracking regulatory indicators, for instance? Amelia, I mean, I know you touched on that with the sourcing, citing, etc. But do you want to elaborate on this a little bit?
Yeah, of course. So AlphaSense uses a RAG method to be able to tag all of our information and pull it into the output that we're providing. What that means is that the platform is never going to make any information up. It's only going to pull information that it can find that is in the content that it's reading and pulling. And so that means that you have a very low hallucination rate because nothing's being made up. Everything is part of the content that's found. I think sometimes you maybe see some information that's been pulled from maybe a broker and a customer has said, oh, that's interesting. Like, why have they said that? And we click into that citation, and that's why the citations are so important. We read the context, and actually it's not a hallucination by any stretch. It's just a broker opinion that's come through that's against kind of the grain of the market, for example. So that's kind of one way we see, and we make sure that there's no hallucinations and there's accuracy in the outputs. Because our platform is a professional business platform, we absolutely have to make sure that that's the first priority. Darren, if anything else you think I've missed?
Yeah. So to build on that, again, that's why, because most traders and strategy teams are telling us that there's too much noise, so the web search is turned off by default to first look at investment grade and decision grade sources. And if Evercore or JP Morgan is making a stance about LNG outlook, you may disagree with it, but you know there's an authentic source that you can disagree with. It's not a blog post, it's not a website, and it's not a 2-year-old article. It was written by JP Morgan or Evercore 6 days ago. And in energy markets where we are, in the transition where we are, if it's 60 days old, it's as good as not as useful right now. So because of the velocity information change, it's not just authentic, but it's decision grade. I mean, it's happened within the past 7 days, which moves the needles for our teams.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
And
Oh, sorry, go on.
sorry, I was just going to add to what Darren mentioned because he made such a good point. I think one of the other things that is so important is the fact that your content set should be curated in the way that you're pulling the information in. So not just the fact that you can kind of cite and validate the information, but exactly as Darren mentioned, with our web search being switched off by default, to be able to get that premium trusted insights that you're going to make decisions on, the content has to be curated. And I think in your question, you mentioned about kind of tracking regulatory indicators, for example. We work really closely with our customers to understand what the key, where are they looking for those regulatory indicators, and then curating that content accordingly so that when you do get the answer, you know it's coming from the trusted source that you would look at anyway. So hopefully that just adds a bit more clarity there.
Yeah, thank you. Partha, anything to add on that?
Yeah, a little bit on the actual metrics. So you can actually run targeted evaluation metrics on your data: groundedness, faithfulness, truthfulness, consistency. These are different factors by which you can test out how good is your data. And then you can use some of the benchmark data sets, truthful QA, HalloEval, or factuality data sets to evaluate the quality of your data. But the key takeaway is you should have some good tools to evaluate the quality of your data set so that you are confident of using it for your decisions. And then the last point, you must do this regularly so that it is not one and done. You need to do this regularly so that you check the quality. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm staying with you for the next one, Partha. Actually, wanted to talk about stress testing market thesis, basically. How can a strategy team or a trading desk practically use AI-powered synthesis to stress test their existing market thesis against the highly volatile undercurrents of the green transition?
The key here, and this is one of the things I want to stress in this maddening world of AI. And I say AI is a conflict of two fears. One fear of missing out, and the other fear of being replaced. To do this in this world, you must bring in the human, bring in the oversight and governance, and that is critical. You cannot have an AI agent just running on its own without supervision. And as part of the supervision and governance, you need to do stress testing. Just because a data set, Darren was talking about different data sets that even 6 days old, just because it worked now on this 6-day data set, there is no guarantee that you will get the similar results 2 months from now or 2 years, definitely 2 years from now. So you need to have governance and shift your model as the data learn and make your model better. And the only way to do that is to look at what you predicted. So you have to do stress tests and what if scenario analysis. What did I predict? on July 15th based on this market condition and what actually happened the next 2 weeks. Once you go back and do this stress testing, then you will see, maybe I use different types of data, or that data should not have been weighted at this level, or the model which ran needs to add one more parameter into that model. That needs to happen. If you are not doing that, then either the minimum you will lose the sharpness of your tool, but the worst can be you will be getting wrong results. So this is critical in this world of fast moving data and fast transitioning models.
Indeed. Just a final nudge to our audience if they want to put in some questions for our panel here before we go into the next question. To Amelia and Darren, if a front office successfully automates document triage and moves toward AI-driven synthesis, what does that new playbook look like in practice? Like, how do you measure the tangible return on investment of having that structural informational advantage?
Shall I take this, Darren?
Sure, I'm happy for you to go first.
Amazing. Yeah, me personally, I work with my customers very closely to understand what the value of implementing any solutions is, because, time saving is a pretty obvious one, but time saving doesn't really cut the mustard when it comes to ROI. And so we get creative with the way that we look at things, but actually I think the most important thing that we hear that really drives value is I was able to find X insight or be able to produce X report that gave me Y information, and therefore I was able to trade on that information, or I was able to have a conversation with my customer that meant that we could do X deal, for example. Or if I'm working with maybe an M&A team, I was able to find the potential targets org structure, which helped me to be much more informed in the conversation and therefore stood out amongst our competitors in a competitive playoff, for example. And being able to then almost put a dollar value on that value statement is where you really see your implementation of AI solutions come into their own, I would say.
Darren?
Bill on Amelia's point, so speed to decision and again evidence of alpha generated. So whether all majors trading firm, they found an insight on AlphaSense that they took action on immediately, where they found that there were more U.S. Navy ships going to the Strait of Hormuz the day after there was an announcement by the president, and they were able to act on it before the formal announcement, which provided significant alpha. And sometimes moving in 24-hour window makes a huge difference. And that only comes when we get investment grade and decision grade information. Because sometimes you may read on it in the blog post, but can you act on a blog post? That's a really tough call to make, especially when millions of dollars are at stake.
Yeah, very good point. It is now time for us to go through the questions from our audience. So let's see what our audience has been posting. So the first one is citing a recent paper by HC Commodities that said the single biggest problem diagnosed by traders was the quality of data. What I hear here is more gauging what the reliable data is and possibly consistency between different providers, in addition to the fact that the quants do not have industry knowledge. Is that an adequate framing? Who would like to answer on that one? Any volunteer?
Yeah, I'll take a crack. It looks like the person who asked the question is saying, is it the fact that the quants do not have industry knowledge? So obviously, finding out the gaps in the quality of data is one, But the other thing is that how can you be sure on the quality of the data is when you compare with the actual. So that stress testing, which I was testing, so you may not be sure when you first get the data. I agree with that, right? But then how do you determine what are the good sources and what are the models which are the right models? Is just by doing is one of the things you can do is stress testing and ensuring what are the data which were pertinent for you and what models give you the right answers. So hone in on actual facts rather than just conjecture.
Agree. And to build on Pana's point, if you think about the sources and they have a brand and maintain like Goldman Sachs, so they're widely considered the gold standard for macro commodity trading frameworks and also cross-border energy transition analysis. Because they are an investor in AlphaSense, they provide their broker research exclusive to our corporate clients. And so the track record, like Pata mentioned, is important. Have they consistently hit the mark over, not just over months, but over years? And so that's how we trust is consistency over time. So every trader here, every strategy leader in a call, they have a few trusted sources that they really rely on.
Yeah, it looks like the sort of data quality and trustworthiness of the AI is at the heart of a lot of people's concerns. One other question we have is, how do you audit an AI-generated conclusion before allowing traders to act on it? Very interesting question.
A very interesting question. Before I answer the question, you made an interesting point on the quality of the quality and reliability. One interesting thing, and I have to tell you this: I was at a big energy client company, who were very averse to going to cloud. It said we have a firewall. Why would I go to cloud in 2017? And I give the example, you need to go to cloud when you have a lot of cash or ornaments in your house. You don't keep it in your house. You go to a safe vault. So that's that sort of thing. You go to something which is much more secure and gives you all the confidence to keep the data. And the same thing with this data model and quality. So as we use more and more AI tools, you have to look at three things. You have to look at the quality of the input data and the data sources and how you are checking. Then the quality of the models. Are the models designed right so that you are inferring correctly? And third, what is your final check before you take action? Right now, I would say, and this is my thumb rule, is that until unless you have gone through at least couple of quarters, there has to be a human involvement. This is an agent or an assistant. Treat this as an analyst or a junior analyst before a trader pulls the trigger. The trader still has the final decision with his domain knowledge and years of experience. Now we can talk about how you move from this agent assisted decision process to a completely agent owned decision process, that the bar will be much higher and you have to be comfortable with that transition. Anyone else?
I think you hit the nail on the head, Partha, to be honest. It's all about, exactly, trust and understanding. Before implementing an AI tool, there should or solution, there should be some form of kind of conversation with the engineering team of that solution and the IT team or engineering team at the organization that's implementing it, so that you have a true understanding of all of the inputs that are going into that solution, so that when you get an output, you know you can trust it and you understand why you're getting that output. So completely agree with you, Partha.
Yeah. One more thing on this. For people who are in the lower end, who are just thinking about deploying AI, I tell people, use it in the POC environment. I had a situation where a power trader was analyzing different ISO regulatory documents, which we started off with, and then making decisions and on trading decisions. And we ran that AI tool, and it popped up 5 trading decisions. And he came up with a very interesting point. He said, of the 5 different suggestions, 3 I would have thought about and done. 4th one, I have not used so many years that I have forgotten about it. 5th one, I did not even know. And he went with the 4th one, something he wouldn't have done it. So you have to, give it up to the trader so that he can make the decision. And then he can see the value of what AI brings to it, because these are the things you would have missed.
There is a final question I see here in the Q&A box. How long does it take? How long does it typically take to see measurable value after implementing an AI-powered intelligence platform? So we're back to the sort of, yeah.
I have
return on
I have
investment.
practical experience, so let me go there.
Mhm.
Depending on how you're using, I give you one example. This 5, 4, a trader found 5 different suggestions. He would have missed 2 of them. That's one. Second, we had another case where someone described an invoice he got. And to our AI agents hitting some regulatory document, and the AI agent came back and said, "Hey, you should file a protest. This would have saved you $200,000 because these regulatory conditions were violated." So let them try. I can tell you, if your model is right, you will almost get immediate buy-in. There were both those cases where eureka moments for the traders, and they immediately signed on. So let them try out.
Right. It doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in for you guys. I mean, people can always reach out to you if they have more questions. But thanks for your questions, viewers. We are right at the end of our session. So let's close with a very quick final thought from each of you, if you don't mind, Partha, Darren, and Amelia. What is one key insight or action item from today that should be on everyone's radar? Partha, do you want to start off?
Yeah, the one thing is, it is not a question of whether. You have to use AI as a tool, but there has to be a correct governance and domain knowledge built in with the AI tool. So yes, you must use AI, because otherwise it's like doing accounting by hand ledger and in thick books and not Excel. So you have to use AI, but domain knowledge and governance are 2 things which must go with it.
Yeah. Darren?
Anything that we adopt, like AI is not an on-off switch. Is you can start first with lower stakes decisions, and we build confidence when we understand a tool's limitations. Well, we know that a calculator can't answer the meaning of life for us. We have more confidence in what a calculator can be useful for. Same thing with AI. Is it perfect? No. Is it extremely useful? Yes. Is it useful for every workflow? No. And part of that journey is understanding its limitations, where it can be deployed in the most useful way. And once we have the right expectations, it's going to be a core part of all our life. It's an exciting and scary future, and we're here together one step at a time. Amelia,
Thanks,
over to you.
Darren.
It's always tricky going last. I would just say that the key takeaway from today is when you are evaluating, testing solutions, which inevitably you are going to do, because we can't really shy away from it now. My suggestion from kind of experience that I've had with customers is test it against real life use cases that you are using now, because then you can really see what the ROI and the value would be if you were able to implement something.
Very, very good point. Indeed. So thank you very much. I'm afraid that's all the time we have today. So again, a huge thanks to our great panel of speakers, Amelia, Darren, Partha. Special shout out to Partha, who's joining us from the US, and it's basically the middle of the night for him. So thanks a lot. Thank you to all of you watching and engaging with us. It's been great. The recording will be made available shortly, so feel free to rewatch it and send it to your colleagues and friends in the industry. On behalf of Commodities People and AlphaSense, I wish you a very good evening, afternoon, or day ahead, wherever you might be. Thank you very much.